Hi everyone, and welcome to the Ari Writer channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to be talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, this guy named Maslow actually created a very interesting diagram. It's in the shape of a pyramid, so you can see it right up there. And it's a very interesting diagram because it talks about the basic needs that we need in order to basically do other things in life. And so, as you can see, the pyramid's base is where we need to start because we're not really able to satisfy the needs at the top of the pyramid without the bottom of the pyramid being satisfied first. And so, this of course makes sense, and this is why it's shaped like a pyramid, because obviously the top of a pyramid would fall if the bottom of the pyramid was suddenly removed completely. So, in our lives, we go through different kinds of cycles, and there are many times when we have our physiological needs met. You can see here that the examples that they show here are having enough food, water, basically not being too hot or too cold, and sleeping well are part of physiological needs. Once we satisfy these needs, then we can satisfy the safety needs. And we can see that security and, of course, safety, which are obvious, are the two examples that they put here in this diagram. So if we are safe and we're secure, but then somehow perhaps maybe we don't have enough money to get food or water, for example, being safe doesn't really matter, right? Because in the end of the day, if we can't put food and water into our bodies, we're not going to be able to survive. So we obviously need to satisfy our physiological needs, and many people sometimes have deficits in these needs as time progresses during certain parts of their lives. So that's where you can go up in the pyramid, and then as soon as a need at the bottom is not being met, you basically fall down. And so this is of course figurative, and that's exactly how this works. So like we're seeing here, we have physiological needs, safety needs. After those two basic needs are met, then we can go into the more physiological needs, so to speak. Even though physiological is at the bottom, I would say that maybe the word that I mispronounced just now is psychological. There we go, that's correct. So more mental desires, more needs that have to do with our emotions, for example. So we can see that the next part of the pyramid in that green section is belongingness and enough. And so we basically need, once we have safety and physiological needs met, to feel like we have friends, for example, to have at least one or two intimate relationships in our lives. And then when we meet those needs, then we can achieve esteem, feeling good about ourselves, feeling accomplished, feeling fulfilled with life, for example. Once those four categories are met, then finally we can achieve what is called self-actualization. And in this diagram it says achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. And so this is very important because in life, a big thing that a lot of people are trying to find is happiness. How can I become happy? How can I basically find a way to find a purpose in life? Some people turn to religion, some people use their work as a sense of fulfillment, other people find fulfillment through very, very simple things. There's examples of hermits and yogis that basically are very, very internally at peace with themselves, and they wouldn't be able to feel fulfilled and be at peace if they didn't have the first four sections of the pyramid met. So I wanted to talk about this because not only have I gone up and down in this pyramid on a few instances in my life, but I find it very interesting that there's a lot of people in my life, whether online or offline, family members, friends, co-workers, teachers, that you can basically tell that they're not satisfying a certain need, and sometimes people try to skip onto the pyramid. So if you meet someone that says, I know the answer to life, I know how to achieve happiness, but they're not safe, for example, and they don't really have a secure house, they maybe don't have security cameras, or the lock on their door doesn't work so anybody can walk in, that sense of dread and that sense of fear can basically overwhelm them, and you can tell by how they're acting. And so this is one way to gauge whether or not someone's advice is not only genuine, but useful and practical. Because if someone is saying, I know the answer, religion is everything, God is everything, for example, but they're not resting well, and they're not eating healthy, perhaps they're not exercising either, then can you really trust what they're saying? And that's a big thing that I wanted to discuss with you all. And please leave some messages in the comments if you guys wanted to discuss this. I've learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs in high school. And very recently, I thought about it again because I do have some friends and family members that are suffering. And a lot of them are not resting enough. Many of them are overworking themselves, for example. And I feel for them. And so pinpointing what you're missing in life and making sure that we satisfy the base of our actual, real, important basic needs is so important. After that, then we can be good friends to people and have good friends in return. Then we can go and do our best at work and be accomplished and be a good role model and be a good coworker, for example. And finally, after satisfying those needs, like I mentioned earlier, we can figure out what it means to be happy and what makes us happy, because we're all a little bit unique. Happiness isn't going to be the same for everybody. There are some commonalities, and I think that the basic tenets of feeling good and sharing positive stories and negative stories with people can help us to grow and learn. And hopefully, a chart like this and a discussion like this will help you all to identify what's missing in your life. Are you eating well? Are you exercising? And are you resting well? And if not, then you definitely want to work on those things. You know, as people would say, get some help. And you're not alone. You don't have to do this by yourself. There have been struggles throughout the thousands of years that humanity has existed where people have not met these needs, but they circumvented it and they figured it out through struggles and really, really tough circumstances. So just wanted to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I think this is a really important thing to really consider when you're going about your day. So I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.